You're alright, guys. We're back again today, and once again, I'm back with Kaioshin Curt.
You're right, guys. It's Kaioshin Curt here, and I'm so glad to be back in this video with JC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, today we're going to be looking at a little bit more of an in-depth review into our favourite Dragon Ball games altogether. Since my subscriber special where I played Ultimate Battle 22, we're going to be taking a little bit more into in-depth looks at what we liked about Dragon Ball games and what we didn't like about Dragon Ball games. And just to keep it nice and light-hearted, let's kick this video off by talking about Ultimate Tenkaichi.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I actually spent a lot of time on this game. Yeah, I probably spent a good, I don't know, 80 hours on it.
Well, that's quite unfortunate.
Yeah. It's because it was at the time, it was when I was at my gaming peak.
Right.
And it came out, and yeah, I pre-ordered it. I was like, oh, this game looks awesome. But then, yeah, we got into it, and it was, for me, that which sold it. Sorry, what sold it for me was the graphics.
Yeah.
Graphics are awesome. And we also saw all those different combos you could do in the trailers.
Yeah.
But then we actually got into the game, you realised that...
You can't do any of that.
Well, yeah, it wasn't built so that you could just do that when you wanted. It was, you had to get to it through all those stupid, button battles where,
the rock,
you had to press the right one and you get to that one and then, oh dear, it was all too much to chance. It wasn't about skill, that game. It was all about luck. Definitely. And that really killed it for me. But having said that, I really liked certain mechanics where you couldn't spam super attacks, and if you did do a super and ultimate, the other, the opponent would be forced to actually react to it. They couldn't just sidestep it and be like, ha ha ha.
Yes.
They'd actually have to, block it, deflect it, or just take it if they had no key. So I liked that about that game. I liked the destruction, but the destruction was kind of limited to certain parts of the map. But overall, I'd like to see that again in future Dragon Ball Z games, the destruction and the way you had to react to supers. But obviously not that stupid luck-based, not rock, paper, scissors, but the two-button thing, X and X or X and Y or whatever on the Xbox I'm talking about. Anyway.
We shouldn't be knocking rock, paper, scissors. I mean, if it wasn't Oolong and Beerus, I mean...
Hey!
But, no, my thoughts on Ultimate Tenkaichi were pretty much the same. I had a little bit more curse words planned to put in mine, but I think to keep it PG, that was probably the better way of doing it.
Yeah.
I was working in a game shop when that game came out, and I had been looking forward to it, and the appeal to me from Ultimate Tenkaichi was the creator character, which of course got later introduced into Xenoverse and Dragon Ball Online. But with Ultimate Tenkaichi, it was like a nice little beginning to it. It was like they tried it out. And when they tried it out, it looked like it was going to be quite good. The graphics were beautiful. In practice, it was crap.
Yeah.
The rest of the game as well was just poor. It was just, the story was unengaging. It was just, I don't know.
Yeah, it was the same thing over again, but yeah, just some little changes. Obviously, the creator character really sold the game to the fans. Obviously, that was part of the whole marketing thing. And it wasn't the absolute worst game we've had. Remember Dragon Ball Z, what was it, Battle of Z? That one recently. Oh, that was diabolical. The character models are horrible. I liked how you could run around on the floor and run and fly. I still don't like all the targeting systems, even from Battle Z into Xenoverse.
Yes.
You kind of have to do that if you're going to do 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 or just 2-on-2.
You do, yeah.
But I still don't like it. It seems very rigid and you can't move around. Anyways, back to Ultimate Tenkaichi, sorry.
I don't know, I think Ultimate Tenkaichi, to wrap it up, I think as a whole, it's kind of like... I don't know, it's kind of like being horny and waiting for sex, and then sort of the ugliest girl in the room comes in and drops her trousers, and you're kind of going, I want to, but no.
I never really thought about it like that.
Yeah.
But, I can relate to that.
But yeah, so I mean, like, okay, well, as we already spoke a little bit about it, let's get on to Battle of Z.
Hey.
Battle of Z, I think, had potential. Its execution was terrible. I mean, realistically, I think I can't say this is true. This is just kind of what I've theorized. I mean, the timing, I kind of feel like Battle of Z was what they tried to do is they tried to demo the combat system for Xenoverse, and I think what they wanted to do is because of course Beerus said this was like the first time he was going to be in a game. I think they wanted to stick him in there as a form of merchandise to try and sell another game before Xenoverse was ready. Because if we look back at Xenoverse had a lot of production. The cutscenes were animated and stuff like that. You know, generally speaking, a lot of time and love went into that game. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that they were working on that game before Battle of Z came out. And because the running and flying and the targeting and stuff is very similar, it's kind of seemed to me like they're taking elements of the layout for it and gone, right, you know.
Yeah, it was certainly a lot more polished. Targeting and all that in Xenoverse. It still has its limitations, though, and that was mostly because they didn't have a next-gen version that was separate from the old gen.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. They just kept the old gen onto new gen, and I really didn't like that because obviously we all want to see all the destructible environments completely destructible, and we didn't want to also have these boundaries around the maps. I felt that actually the maps were really small.
They were.
And I didn't like how, you know, you had to go through gates all the time. It was like...
Yeah.
Oh...
For instance, if we're going to be thinking of the gates and how small the maps are and the boundaries, the section in Xenoverse, we've completely deterred from Battle of Z, but that's probably for the best.
Well, let's just leave that garbage behind. That was
but if
dreadful.
We're talking about that little area, I mean, one area worth mentioning is when you go to Planet Vegeta, in space outside of Planet Vegeta, and you can see Frieza's spaceship, and often in the distance, and you can fly up that tunnel. It's like there's no space to go around. It's just you can just go up. You can go outwards a little bit, but then the map goes upwards as opposed to outwards, and I kind of feel like that was a bit of a cop out. I'd quite like to get to be able to fight in the atmosphere, sort of thing. But
it was just certainly that they didn't make its own next gen version. I think that was it, and obviously if they do bring out a Xenoverse 2, these things will be addressed hopefully because. Yeah,
I think the likelihood of them doing a Xenoverse 2 is very possible just due to the fact that Xenoverse is one of the best. I think it was the best-selling Dragon Ball game of all time. And because of that, I think it's pretty much written in the stars that it will happen. The only thing is, I hope that they'll stick to doing it on next gen. And I know a lot of previous gen fans like Xbox 360 and PS3. They'll be like going, no, I haven't upgraded yet. The fact of the matter is, they didn't have to put that last game out on previous gen. They had the tools to work with next gen because obviously they've ported the game for it. They had the tools to do it, which means that they didn't have to, but they decided to anyway. And it's not the first time they've ever tried to appease the fans of previous gen. They did it with Infinity World when Burst Limit came out, because Infinity World was sort of like to hold the attention of fans for previous ones and almost like a bit of an apology. Anybody who's played that will know that it is basically just Budokai 3. And it is, but they just did it and they kind of tried to play around with it a bit to implement a couple ideas from Burst Limit that they couldn't have in previous editions of Budokai. And because of that, it's just that was their way of dealing with it. But obviously, that was the last game on the PS2. So, actually, I'm not. You know what? I might be wrong there because I'm not sure when Super Dragon Ball Z came out, but I think it was the last time that it was on PS2. But anyway, yeah, because after that, it just went straight on to Raging Blast, and then it went on to Raging Blast 2. And then, of course, we got Ultimate Tenkaichi, which was really oddly placed. And then, of course, we got Xenoverse after that. So, I mean... and Dragon Ball Z for Kinect came out in between those two.
Hey!
Why don't we talk about that one,
Kurt? Ultimate fail. Dragon Ball game.
Ultimate Tenkaichi.
Just watch Angry Joe's review on that. He absolutely tears it to pieces and blows it up. Like Trunks did to Frieza. Literally, the rage in that rant review is incredible. Go watch that. That is such fun. Just watch it. It's so entertaining. Angry Joe's review on Dragon Ball Z for Kinect.
I don't know, man. I just every time I watch a clip from Dragon Ball Z Kinect, I remember thinking to myself, I was like, maybe in time, maybe I was angry at the time, but maybe now it's not bad because we've got stuff that we can play more seriously. And then I give it a go, and you stand in front of that Kinect staring at you like you've dropped your trousers, and you just start pulling off these stupid arm techniques that don't even resemble Kamehamehas.
Yeah.
And they want you to do these things. And like, if you want to play the game properly, you've got to do it like this. So you start trying to fire off this thing, and it makes it look like you're trying to fist a llama in the middle of your living room. And it's just, there's nothing to it. It's just stupid.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a stupid game. It was a real cash-in project. Let's cash in.
On Kinect,
just because we can do it. Just because Kinect is just available. That good, just that standard to now pull it off. Let's cash in now while we can, and they did. And they had that silly Super Saiyan hair thing if you pre-ordered it. You know, the thing you could put in your head. It's like a cardboard thing.
Yeah.
I mean that, and was it a scout? No, that was just what. Yeah, that's just what Angry Joe was wearing. But yeah, that thing was just so flimsy, and even whilst he was doing his review, it even like fell off. It broke while he was playing the game.
It's just insane. But to be honest, I mean, like they tried doing the whole you are the controller thing with Budokai Tenkaichi 2 on the Wii, and they sort of realized, they looked at the sales and went, oh, this has sold really well. People obviously like doing this. No, people bought that game and plugged the GameCube controller into the Wii.
Hey.
Nobody did that. But then there was a couple perks on having it on Wii. I think there was a couple of extra characters on there. You had like a pool and Frieza's soldier and stuff like that. And I don't think they were available on the PS2 version. I could be wrong there.
That's a bit of a dirty tactic, isn't it?
It is. I mean, because I bought it twice, so I'm a fool, really. I can't really say anything else. But I mean, like, post that, they did try and implement certain interesting ideas where they tried to do, like, you know, they gave you rewards for having the previous games. Like, if you had Budokai Tenkaichi 3, if you owned Budokai Tenkaichi 2, you could do this, I think it was called, like, a disc thing. You put the disc in to prove you had it, and then it gave you some rewards for when you were doing something else. They tried to do, like a story mode, an adventure mode on Budokai Tenkaichi 3, and I never played that, really, to be honest.
Yeah, to be honest, it is my favourite game, Budokai Tenkaichi 3, but I am still very new to it. I only got it about 2 months ago, and since I'm not at home, I can't play it at the moment, but I will be. I plan to do, some gameplay on it, but I just really like that game. I guess we're now getting into Budokai Tenkaichi 3, but yeah, I really like that game, not because of the graphics. Yeah, the graphics do let it down, and there are some odd proportioning sort of graphics there, but for me it's the soundtrack, the sound effects, you know, the punches and the kicks and the instantaneous movement, the teleporting. It's all really awesome, and also the gameplay mechanics. There's just so much you can do. There's a lot of variety. Now, I haven't played it, as I say, a lot, so I'm not the best person to ask, but for me, I can ignore the graphics and play it for what it is. And because there's so many characters as well, you could just do so many what-if battles and all sorts.
That's right, yeah.
I think it had the same story over again, but that's where it does fall down in comparison to Budokai 3. Now, Budokai 3 is just 2D, whereas BT3 is 3D, but in Budokai 3... they had all those what-if sagas and battles. You know, you went to certain places on that interactive map. You know, you flew around the Dragon Ball world, and you went to these weird battles that would appear. And then be like, I don't know, what was it like? Was there one like Super Saiyan 4 Broly or Gohan or something?
No, there was.
It's a long time ago since I played it.
They did similar things with. There was Ultimate Tenkaichi borrowed the map mechanic that Budokai 3 did, where you could fly around the map. They did it a lot nicer in Ultimate Tenkaichi. Nobody has ever said anything good about Ultimate Tenkaichi before, by the way, guys. You have just witnessed history in the making. But but no, they did quite a nice job with that. I think they had a couple of GT things go on in there, which was like they had like Red Shenron and stuff like that, and all the stuff from GT that no one actually really cares about. But it was one of those things that it was kind of nice to see. Budokai 3. I don't think they introduced any what if characters, but they put in what if scenarios.
Not like playable characters, but like some strange things were going on.
Yeah.
And it was quite refreshing to do that because that was well after you'd finished the Buu arc, and I can't remember. Did it have a GT? No, it didn't have a GT storyline, did it?
It didn't have a GT storyline. No. It just incorporated a couple of GT characters.
Yeah. So it was nice and refreshing to have that on top of the story you'd played before in Budokai 2. Yeah.
And obviously Budokai 1 only went as far as the Cell Saga or Cell Arc.
Yeah. Very strange.
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I remember...
But they build it on it, don't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, I tell you what, when I got Budokai 1, I loved that game. When it first came out, I adored that game. I played it for hours and hours. And then eventually, when Budokai 2 was released, I remember it came out around my birthday, and I remember I really wanted it. And I forgot to ask for it for my birthday, so I didn't get it. But then I got my birthday money and decided to go out and try and get it. And I went around different areas where I lived trying to get hold of this game. For love nor money, I could not find it. And then one of my friends called me like halfway across I was on the complete opposite side of the city where I live, and he was just literally like, "Dude, this shop's got it," and I was just like, "Fuck, okay, I'll get there." And I remember running to it, and eventually, my dad offered to give me a lift down, so he took me down to the bottom of the shop where the store was, and I picked it up, got it home, and I was so psyched to play it. I put it in the disc machine, and then it came up with the stupid, the map where you used to hop around, going to the, sort of like the Dokkan battle.
Oh, yeah.
The maneuvering, and I was just sort of looking at it going, what is this? Oh, this must be a mini game before the game starts. And then when I realised it was lasting for quite a while, I was like, this is a long minigame. This isn't going to give me the story I want, is it? I expected cutscenes like the previous game, and I didn't get them. That hurt Budokai 2 for me. But,
and I was so young then that I didn't even think about critiquing it like that. I was just like, oh yeah, this is good, this is a good Dragon Ball game. It was actually, I think, my first Dragon Ball game, Budokai 2.
Oh, really?
And I played that so much. Particularly the Buu arc. For some reason, I kept playing that over and over because...
Could it be something to do with the Kaioshin?
Well, Kaioshin, yeah. I was also a big fan of Super Buu and, Buhan then.
Actually, was Deborah in Tenkaichi? Budokai 2, or was he...
yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember he was in Budokai 3, but I couldn't remember if he was in the second one.
I'm pretty sure he was. I think my favourite map on that game was the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, the Room of Spirit of Time.
Yes.
I really liked that one, and the graphics on it made it look so good.
This makes me sound like a simpleton, but I used to get a lot of fun out of going on training mode, and then I'd have a game of ping pong with the computer when I fire a key blast and you just bat it back to each other.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Oh, was that the map where it had all those turbines, the windmills? Was it?
It did have that.
I think it was that. I think that was a training stage map.
I think you could pick your own training stage.
Oh right.
And
yeah.
I think
of course.
I think just because I was the kind of kid I was, I wouldn't dream of training anywhere else but the Hyperbolic Time Chamber or the Room of Spirit of Time. So
good point.
Head in there, and I just used to bat the key blast around until I lost consciousness. But yeah, so I mean, I did enjoy Budokai 2. I preferred Budokai 3, and there definitely wasn't that long a span of time between those two games, or at least the time that I got it. I remember getting really into Budokai 2, and just after we'd started to enjoy it, my mate turned up and he had Budokai 3, and I was like, I didn't even know that came out.
No, and that was another step up again. Particularly, because now in the story they had the world map, and you could fly around in it, and they had a separate map for Namek, didn't they? And
did.
That was pretty cool. And it was nice, just like flying around, seeing all those mountains and sort of hills. Sorry,
you
not
also
mountains.
had an
hills,
incentive to play it again, because if you played it again, you got to do the what if stories. Like, if you finished the game for a third time, you could like unlock cooler if you went down to a certain point of the map. And same with like Broly and stuff.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and they had all those different points. Yeah, you could go to. Like every time you played it, am I right? It was different. There were different things in different places. Like, hang on a minute, I thought that was there on the map last time, but it's moved over there. And
yes, there was a whoops, sorry, there was a string of random sort of placements, especially for the Dragon Balls, because that was one of the first times they ever did that.
Oh yeah,
so you could fly around the map and you could find the Dragon Balls with the Dragon Radar. You had to look for the sparkles on the map to drop down and pick up the actually no, it wasn't a sparkle. So you'd fly around, and if you ran into like a question mark, you'd drop down and you might find an item. Like, it might be money, it might be a move, it might be some support item. But then if you dropped down and you landed on the Dragon Radar, you could switch your map out for the Dragon Radar, and you could fly around and try and find the Dragon Balls, and that was really fun. So I mean, like, if anybody else did the same as me, you kind of completely went off the track of doing the missions. You're like, no, I want all 7 Dragon Balls now.
I think I did the same, to be fair.
Yeah.
So I think now we should have a little talk about Raging Blast.
Yeah. Raging Blast 1 for me was a thumbs down. I never really I tried playing it again. I think it was the year before last. And I got into it a bit more this time, but when I first got it, I just kind of got bored with it. Because there was nothing really new about it, if you know what I mean. It was like an updated graphical version of Budokai Tenkaichi, but it was just sort of, it was just a bit naff, I thought. But I liked the sequel. I did like Raging Blast 2.
I liked Raging Blast 2 better than 1.
Yeah.
But the only thing I liked better about 1 was the artwork of all the characters was more cel-shaded. It was less gummy. Whereas Raging Blast 2, all the characters looked kind of weird. They looked kind of like gummy. Yeah. Yeah, and it created these weird like textures.
I definitely know what you mean. Oh no! I tell you, I tell you what. Where I first fell off the rails with Raging Blast 2. Raging Blast 2, from what I remember, was the first Dragon Ball game that had Funimation voice actors, where they had updated it to the Kai version. And if you had been used to Stephanie Nadolny as being Gohan, and like Kid Goku in the previous one, I started playing around with Raging Blast 2, and I suddenly started getting this really high-pitched squeal. And I was like, what is that? And I realized it was Gohan, and I was like, no!
It changed. It changed the actor. Yeah, I think I had the same feeling, actually, because for me, Gohan will always be Stephanie Nadolny.
Yeah. I mean, Colleen Clinkenbeard, she got better as Kai went on, but it's just, I don't know. A lot of people disagree with me, because a lot of people sort of go, Stephanie Nadolny's version of Gohan did sound like he'd smoked a pack of cigarettes before each of his lines, and I didn't know what they kind of mean by that. But but I don't know. Then you go to Colleen Clinkenbeard, and when I hear her version of Gohan, it sounds incredibly synthetic. It sounds very ungenuine.
There wasn't that sort of polishness to it, and realness, kind of.
Yeah, his voice is so high that it's actually kind of, it doesn't suit him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It could be that I'm so used to it, but I can't really say about it being high, because Masako Nozawa, the Japanese voice actor, I think plays Gohan to perfection, and Goku to perfection, and obviously pretty much the rest of the Son family, but I don't find Colleen Clinkenbeard's to be a good representation of a high voice.
Yeah, I would agree. With that. Yeah, I don't know why. I actually don't know why they had to replace Stephanie Nadolny. Do you?
I think they were asking for too much money. I think they tried to cut costs on the actual in the studio, and I'm pretty sure they actually just she wanted a bit too much money, so they went, okay, well, it's time to put the end. Then again, it could have been the case that she's been playing the same character for so long that she was kind of sick of it. It could be.
And she had to reprise the role for all the games, game after game after game.
I mean, there's milking it, and then you got to feel sorry for some of the voice actors. I mean, if we're to follow that path, though, Masako Nozawa, Christ, the amount of times she's played Goku, Gohan, Goten, adult Gohan, adult Goku, she doesn't get a break.
She loves it.
She's 80 years old and she still plays Goku to perfection.
Yeah, she's a legend. Or a legend.
Yeah, legend. But yeah, so I mean, I think there's that. But I mean, honorable mentions for maybe the wrong reasons, and some for the right. To start off with a good honorable mention, the Legacy of Goku games on the Game Boy. They were brilliant. They were amazing. They kind of styled it a little bit like the Pokemon layout to the games, where you sort of looked at your character from the bird's eye view and walked around like that. They're amazing. If you haven't tried that, I do recommend trying that. And after that, there was what was I going to say? For bad honorable mentions, we can go into Ultimate Battle 22.
Hey.
If you guys haven't seen that yet, please go to my channel and have a look at my 500 subscribers anniversary. My 500 subscriber video. I played that game on the hardest difficulty, and oh no, it's just I can't even sell it to you. You need to look at it for yourself.
It is fun though if you play it like 2-player.
Yes.
I never played that game originally. It was well before my time, but yeah, playing against the computer is really frustrating. But against your friend, it'd be so much fun.
It would be.
Honestly.
It would be. I've played it against a few of my friends. It's still frustrating, but not quite as frustrating. And then I can mention Final Bout as well, which is basically like a 3D rendition. When I say 3D, it still adapts the 2D style, but it has 3D type graphics. And that was basically like an updated version of Ultimate Battle 22, which had less characters, and the functionality was even worse. So the button delays were even worse. You'd press square to punch, and they would do it about 3 seconds later. There was...
oh my gosh!
Yeah, exactly.
Come on!
And the graphics were all over the place. Like, if you were fighting Kid Buu, sometimes his arms would just flip out all of a sudden. They'd go halfway across the screen and come back. And that wasn't one of his move sets. That was literally a glitch. Dragon Ball Z Legends on the Sega Saturn, that was really good. That was one of the first times they tried to incorporate going through the story. That was really interesting. That was in turn where they actually had more than one player on the screen at once. So it was, more than two players on the screen at once. So you could have I think there was for the Ginyu Force, they had all four of them on there at one point. And then you had Ginyu himself as a separate fight. It was very interesting, very well done. And then, to be honest, after that, obviously you've got the Super Butoden games. I'm not really going to go into Extreme Butoden because I have done an in-depth review on that. So please go into my channel again to have a look at that. I'm doing a lot of self-promoting here. I apologize, Kurt. But if you want a full review of that, please go and have a look into that. But to be honest, I pretty much think that wraps it up for what I want to talk about in terms of the games. There are a few DS games, Super Sonic Warriors, Dragon Ball Origins. There's a Wii game, Revenge of King Piccolo. You could go on for hours about the different games, but I've talked about my favourite ones. I didn't say much about Burst Limit, but Burst Limit had the potential to be better than it was, and I'm still disappointed. The graphics were beautiful on that game, but then they just kind of didn't finish it.
Yeah.
That was pretty much the main problem with that. They just didn't finish it.
Certainly coming back to popularity. I think I'll have to get it as well, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you enjoyed the Budokai games, you'll enjoy Burst Limit.
Yeah. Well, I'll get it then.
Yeah, it's very well done. The fights are brilliant. The only thing that's amazing that annoys me is the interrupting. What do they call them? Drama pieces. That's what they call them. And it goes to a random cutscene. It's really inconvenient.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. That's something I really like about Dragon Ball Z. all these emotional moments and stops and starts, but it just can't be implemented into a game. You just can't do that.
That's right. Yeah, if it comes into a game, it ruins the flow.
Oh yeah, totally.
But, yeah. So, all right then. Well, cheers everyone for joining in for that video and having a look. And I hope you agreed or had some interesting thoughts on what we had to say. And if you haven't tried a lot of those games, please, unless it's Ultimate Tenkaichi, please do go out and try them. I don't want to. I'm not trying to get you to self-harm by playing that game, because I'm being honest. That game it's like hurting yourself when you play it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do it, guys. Don't do it.
But anyway, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to start training on World King Kanji's planet. And if you haven't already, please go and subscribe to Kaioshin Curt. He's putting a lot of love into that channel, and he needs the love back.
Yes, please, guys. Please.
But anyway, guys, thank you for joining in, and we shall catch you all in the next video.
Thanks.